Hey there, this is Tom Crandall from Gear Mashers, and what I have here is the Stages SC3 Spin Bike. It is an amazing bike. Now, before I get into this, Stages did go bankrupt in 2024, and so they were picked up by another company, Giant, and we'll wait and see how that goes. But so far, it looks promising. So yeah, we'll just see. So Stages, their claim to fame was they came out with a power meter. And so the power meter would go on cranks, and what it would do is it would show your wattage and power as you're pedaling on your bike. And so what they did is they're like, okay, we have this crank, but now let's carry it over into spin classes. And so they put their power meter onto a spin bike. They designed a spin bike, and that's the SC series. And so they had three different versions. So they had the SC1, the SC2, and the SC3. The main difference between let's say the 1 and the 2 was the 1 was made out of steel, whereas the SC2 and the SC3 have aluminum frames. Now, obviously, steel versus aluminum, you're inside, you're probably not going to notice much difference. The steel version, I think, was about 114 pounds, something like that, whereas aluminum was a little bit lighter. And then as you went up from the SC1 to the SC3, they added a few other niceties. So like with the SC3, you have quick release on the front here, so you can raise the handlebar up and down rather than a knob that you have to tighten. Same thing on the back here. You have a quick release here to raise the seat post up and down. And then the other nice feature with these is you have these dials for the handlebar and also for the seat. So you can move the seat forward and backwards. You can also do the same thing with the handlebar. So it's very customizable to the rider. And I want to say it could fit riders from about 4 feet 8 inches to maybe 7 feet, at least 6, 8, somewhere around there. So you have a wide range of options as far as being able to ride this bike. And yeah, I thought that was really neat. The other thing that they came out with is they have the newer versions of these bikes had what I think it's called the SIC2 monitor. And this one has the SIC1 monitor. Basically, there's not much difference between the two. One looks nicer, the newer one looks nicer, more refined than this, but either one probably is fine. Now, this bike is designed for commercial use, and it's designed for multiple people using the bike day in, day out, as a workhorse. And, the spin classes usually are like 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And so these bikes were designed for just a lot of abuse. They, instead of using a chain, they use a belt drive. And I've found the belt drives to be pretty good. I've had bikes with belt drives, and I haven't had any issues. It's supposed to be lower maintenance, supposed to have a longer lifespan. Now, obviously, when you're looking to buy a commercial bike, if you buy it new versus if you buy it used, obviously, if you buy it new, you don't have to worry about, 1,000 people have ridden it before. But if you buy it used, you may want to just sort of check around the bike, make sure there's not a ton of rust on it. It's hard to see, well, it's almost impossible to see what's going on inside the bike. But in general, get on the bike, spin it around a little bit, and if it feels a little off, probably move on to another bike. But this one felt great. So it's got the carbon drive on there. And what I did when I picked up the bike, I swapped out the original pedals with my own Shimano pedals. Also swapped out the seat for an ergon seat that I really like for cycling. And yeah, I just absolutely love this bike. What's cool about it is, so on the front side here, they have a wide fork. And so what that means is when you're sweating a lot, the sweat's hitting the fork rather than the flywheel. And also along the flywheel, they have a fairing, so the fairing goes out. And so again, the sweat's not going to get on the flywheel. Some of the lesser less expensive models, they don't really take that into account as much. And I've been on some bikes with front flywheels, and they had pads for the braking system. And so what would end up happening is you'd sweat, and then it would get on the pad, and then it would really mess up the flywheel. So with this, you don't have to worry about that. And then the braking system on here is magnetic. And so the way that works is you have a dial here in the front, and as you turn the dial, the resistance becomes more. If you decrease the dial, the resistance comes less. And then they have a lever here that acts as a quick increase or decrease resistance. So if I wanted to quickly increase the resistance, I move the lever here over to the right, and then I got a lot more resistance. And then I move the lever over to the left, and I have less resistance. And so when I get on here, let me just spin it up real quick. So just like with any spin bikes, the cranks are going to be set. So as if I not really pedaling, the cranks are going to continually go. And so they also have a quick stop. So you just press down and now you're stopped, which is nice if you feel like you're getting out of control and you're like, oh, okay, and I can stop really quickly. And that's just a nice safety feature. But again, if I wanted to increase the resistance, I have this dial and it'll increase the resistance where I can turn it to left to decrease. And then if I want to quickly add a lot more resistance, I just use this dial here, and now I have a lot more resistance on here. And then if I want to take it off, I can. And what's great about that is, say you want to do a hill workout. And so maybe as you're climbing the hills, you put a lot of resistance on. So it simulates like, okay, you're going up a hill, you crest over the hill, and now you're starting to go downhill. You can release the resistance, and now you're spinning downhill pretty fast. The monitor will show watts, it'll show speed, cadence, things like that that are important just to monitor, and then also time. But this is just really, really neat. So this particular bike came from a spin studio called the Ride House. And during COVID, obviously, it affected a lot of gyms. And so they had to shut down, and they just never recovered after that. And so they ended up selling their bikes. And the person I bought this bike from actually bought, I think, probably like 10 or 12 bikes in auction. And the guy actually kept one for his wife, but she never really rode it. So it just sort of sat there. And so I was lucky enough to get it for $300, which is a steal. These bikes usually retail for, like at the time, around $3,000 to $3,500. And so, you know, they're top end bikes. You can also find something comparable to this would be in the Schwinn line. So Schwinn has something called the Carbon Blue, and it's another spin bike. And if you've taken spin classes, you've probably either been on a Stages bike, a Kaiser bike, or a Schwinn bike. So the Carbon Blue is very similar to this. It's not as elegant as this. I think this is just a fantastic design that they did with this one. Really well thought out. The Carbon Blue has a lot more dials that you have to screw in, unscrew. And then, but Schwinn just came out, or not just came, they also came out with an upgrade to the Carbon Blue called the Schwinn Z Bike. And so the Z Bike it's got more technology than this bike has, and it looks really nice, really refined, very elegant looking. And again, it's a commercial grade bike. So if you're looking for a home spin bike, you can find lots of spin bikes right now on Marketplace. But if you want something that's very commercial grade, not something like just from Walmart or Kmart or whatever, is Kmart even around? Well, anyway, I would look at the Schwinn Carbon Blue. I would look at the Stages SC2 or SC3, or if you can find a Z bike for under $1,000, that one would be pretty good. Stages also has, believe it or not, a Stages SC3, I think that's the name. And that one is a little bit different. So rather than a spin bike, it has a magnetic resistance. It's designed for working with applications like Zwift, where Zwift can control the resistance on the bike. So as you're climbing up a hill in Zwift, virtually, it actually transmits the grade of the hill and then adds the resistance to the bike. So it gives that simulation of riding up a hill without you having to crank the resistance down. And the other cool thing is Zwift, at least, you can do a lot of racing on there, you can do training. And so having a bike that adjusts to what you're seeing on screen is just really neat. I actually had a Wahoo kicker bike, and that bike actually would go up and down. So as you're going up a hill, it would actually raise up, as well as the resistance would increase or decrease. So as you're going downhill, it would like go down a little bit, and then as you're going uphill, and I think it would raise up to about 20 degrees, 15 or 20 degrees. So it was definitely, it would give you a lot more immersion into Zwift, which was pretty cool. So anyway, if you got any questions on this, just give me a shout. Please leave a comment, and also definitely hit that subscribe button. That really helps out. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day. Take care.